Hello! Hello! And welcome
Nailed it
to Jarviskjir Mind Over Matter. Look, there's a lot of moving parts. And by moving, I mean I've just got a lot of hotkeys. Just a lot of them all over the place.
No, I've just flustered you is what's happened.
Yeah, the presence of a handsome boy has racked my heart. Hello, and welcome to Jarviskjir Mind Over Matter with special guest. That guy. Will's joining us for a bit, for totally freaking obvious reasons, especially if you watched, well, only really if you've watched Narashiro Nights. If you haven't, this will make sense soon enough, I suppose.
If you haven't watched Narashiro Nights, just pause this right now and go back and just watch all.
If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching it on Twitch, do not leave, do not leave.
No. if you're on Twitch, especially, pause.
No! Oh, look, I can put my mouse on people's, if I want to. That's good to know. Anyway, yes, probably a bit of a shorter session today as we don't have our Lord and Savior Zoe, but we're going to be doing some stuff. We're going to be hanging out anyway. And
I mean, I could just log into a Roll20 and...
Yes, Ocean can be like a simulacrum if necessary, but it's not really. Because it wraps up in a real nice little bow. You guys have just purified the Fanged Asylum from the fell, I'm gonna say it, fell taint upon that place. The manifestation to the Shadow Realm was occurring there, and you have, well, it's kind of impossible to purely close because it's a portal, but you have at least removed some of the evil connected to that place. And we're back on the way to Narashiro. You had a talk about it, and I'm honestly very fucking surprised that you have decided to go after the map at House Nor. Ian is surprised as well, it seems, but now, as one of the few party members around, you're stuck with it.
Ashok is going to continue being vocal about how they think it's a bad idea, and is probably going to end up dying for their sins.
There's no reason why you would die at House Nor. No, and for such
everything,
and for such reasons, is why you're going to go and see an expert. You are going to quite swiftly head back to Narashiro. And Ocean is currently going to spend more time with Cinnabelle. It's a typical situation. Your friend gets a new girlfriend and just stops kind of showing up with the rest of you. It's typical. We'll see more about the conversations that have been had, because they have a couple of things that they need to sort out together amongst themselves as well next time. For now, it's going to be Bogdan and Ashal, who, yet again, like on their own, because Ocean is busy, they are going to follow the advice of Jureko and Cinnabelle, and try and see if they can find an individual by the name of Rakath that you know a little bit about, but not all that much.
Who gave them the advice to seek out the lumpy man?
Jureko, first of all.
Why?
You're like a family member to him.
Yeah, but why would... Okay, no, continue, please.
Like I said to you in a DM, they've only been told the good things.
And Ashal still doesn't trust you.
No one should trust him.
Hasn't even met you yet.
To be fair, he's extraordinarily honest. So
yeah, even Rakath will tell you not to trust him.
Yeah,
and you'll still end up liking him. Maybe. We'll see. Will Ashal be the first person not to like Rakath? We will see. Probably.
I mean, Ashal's default state is disliking everyone, so probably.
Yeah. It's all of your, like, your mood for 2020 and 2021 and having to deal with people just wrapped up into one, like, solid character to project that energy outward. Is there anything else you two want to do in Narashiro before you go and follow the leads towards Rakath?
You have a question. Have we had a long rest
Yes.
since our fight? Okay.
Yes.
I haven't refreshed myself. I still don't know what my character would do in Narashiro other than enable Ashal
Yeah,
by
that's totally fair.
potentially infant constructs from another realm.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what you guys are doing, huh?
As my inventory states, extraplanar entity brackets tied to.
Yes,
Literally.
that is
Literally.
another thing that happened last session for anyone who missed it. Ashal took off the hands of a obscure and quirky mage in the Narashiro Undercity a little extraplanar construct, and is carrying it around like a baby on his chest.
Yeah. I do have something I want to do. I want to go to find some gemstones worth at least 10 GP for unspecified reasons.
That's effortless in Narashiro. In Narashiro, there is a gem shop at every corner. Like, you can get as many as you need without many problems.
What would sort of the most expensive gems I could get without needing to roll for it?
Without a roll, in Narashiro explicitly, you could get between, 5 to 100 gold gems very easily. Of value.
Okay.
They're usurper elves. They love gemstones. They aren't even really the people who mine them, they just love them.
Okay. In that case, I am going to get 200 GP gems and let's say 550 GP gems just to.
They're just going to be in a stray bag.
But the question is, do you buy them at cost?
Sorry?
Do you buy them at cost? That's the question.
Yes. Ashal cannot be bothered to.
No, if you haggle,
You
they
don't.
become worthless, and so you
Yeah.
need more. There's
Exactly. It's the problem.
Does the magic consider how much you paid for them?
Yes, 100%. Absolutely.
So if you find them, they're worthless?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I rule it in my games. That's not true at all.
No.
I just very much specify.
Fair.
Okay.
So.
Gemstone purchases, easy squeezy. You do have a lead of where to start looking for Rakath. You actually kind of have two, but don't worry, you're just gonna go to his place. We are just gonna skip through that. But is that kind of what you two want to do right now?
Presumably.
Sure. So, based on the leads that you have from respectable nobility in the city of Narashiro, the individual known as Rakath can be found in the Royal Intelligence Ward of the city. Now, I mean, this is kind of up to you, Will, but I kind of imagine it's probably like one of those parts of Narashiro that's like outside of the city walls. Kind of imagine it on like the edge of the wall, like on an overhang. Like explicitly its own place.
Yeah, it would definitely be separate. It wouldn't be something that is quite as centralized as the previous intelligence office was, because that obviously got exploded.
Yeah.
So, he's not the type of person to set up an office in the same place that one got destroyed, because he recognizes that that's incredibly stupid.
And of note, I actually don't think I've told you this. There is still a Aether Storm above the city. You can't build up there. According to officials, it is harmless. But
right, yeah, but it's not.
The party has been asked to deal with it at some point as well.
Right, yeah. So in that case, like he's actually probably built it as close as reasonable to that without it being too close.
Okay.
Obviously, to an intelligent person, not like as close as possible to be an insane person.
No, it's like off the wall, but like high up.
Yeah, to monitor the situation as much as possible. Like, because the thing is, what I imagine for this intelligence office is there's got to be an observation deck basically as well to monitor that fucking situation that's up there.
Yes, that makes sense that it'd be connected, and that's even funnier too because the Royal Intelligence Ward is an old ruin. It's an old ruin that has now been hefted up the side of the city and bolted high up upon it, which is perfectly fitting. Can you two both give me, I think, investigation checks as you approach this place? The ward would have guards staffed outside. They're not city guards. They're kind of unmarked guards. Ashal?
The dichotomy.
Ashal,
Okay,
you know
stop
what
talking.
would be...
5 gang.
You know why you guys would be you would be distracted, Ashal, because you're getting closer and closer to the Aether Storm at the top of Narashiro. And when you're this high up, first of all, you're dealing with Narashiro nobility this high up in the city. It's a distracting place, especially if you don't like them, or if you do like them a lot. But if you look up, there is just a swirling maelstrom of arcane magic that is not truly understood amongst the ruins of what used to be the high city of Narashiro. It's beautiful and intimidating and fascinating to Ashal. To Jacken, not so much. To Bogdan, you can...
To
dwarf. I did that earlier where I was like, I just can't remember this character's name. I will just write them as dwarf in the group chat.
You also see Jacken again.
Jacken. Look,
It's really easy when there was a major character in a major media property named Jacken to get that confused.
no, I'm not, I don't have that excuse. I'm just stupid. My brain logic, and I'll tell you my brain logic. My brain logic is it's pronounced the same way as taken. Now that doesn't make sense. Because taken is pronounced taken. So that doesn't even make sense. That's not even an excuse, but that's what my brain does. That's what it does.
I mean, that works.
It's like when you go left, right, and you're like, oh, I'll go left, and you go right. Like, you never had that? Anyway, Bogdan, as you are approaching this place, there is a sign. This is like an official part of the city, and there is an old sign, and it's clearly an old sign that's been kind of put there. It's kind of like a plaque you'd see outside a lot of like modern buildings, and it says Royal Intelligence Ward. Noticeably, the letters are like metal on this old stone sheet, and you can see the wear marks of where it used to say, instead of intelligence, torture. Or torturers, explicitly.
Back before the elves did that for fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You still need specialists. You are allowed in. There is a bit of a like balcony bridge before you get to the building proper. The guards, like I said, are kind of like unmarked guards, not really Narashiro like, and probably not even usurper elves too. Probably like a spattering of other folk. The folk that you wouldn't usually see this high up in the city. Yeah.
You'd have a human in the front there too.
Yeah. I knew he would show up at some point.
Of course. Yeah, he's just there. He's hanging out.
He's the front guard?
Well, sorry, he's the one leading the front guard.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the one making sure he's given the commands. But then, yeah, there's probably, realistically, there would be a dwarf there as well, because they were best friends. And then there's, there's probably one elf.
Yeah, but it's, like, noticeable for this high up in Narashiro that, it's not, like, Narashiro guardsmen, My internet is shitting the bed today, by the way. If you were curious, because I need like more problems today, was the decision. This is a problem for me to deal with later. I'm very stupid, is the answer. Okay, so you guys, Ashal and Bogdan, are just allowed in. You're kind of like someone, the human. Probably not really seen humans. Ashal has seen humans. They're livestock in Ebamari. But
this one.
Not this one. No.
What a weird albino usurper elf.
Yeah. He would like, as you're passing, be checking like a little scroll, which is blank. Like if you look at it, you can't see anything. But you would be allowed in, and allowed inside the Royal Intelligence Ward, a very old building that is being retrofitted. Actually is like pretty much done, other from things where it's like, no, it's cool, it looks old, where you can't beat the classics. It's up to you to describe, and at this point, it's all you, Will. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah. So, I mean, when really, all makes a good point. Some of it is just old, and it did used to be a more of a let's say an internment for individuals
Like
who were opposed
the
to
dungeons,
state.
yeah.
Yeah.
You say
So they're
throw them to the
technically-
dungeons, they end up here.
They end up in this ruin, which was not a ruin at the time. So there's definitely some of those like ancient devices that you would see that are clearly have not been used in a very, very long time, mind you. But ancient torture devices scattered among the old ruin. There are definitely people moving around, and it's quite an active place. There's a large number of individuals moving around here, despite the fact that it has that kind of dank dungeon feel to it. There's also like a hustle and bustle of like a working office taking place where like people are genuinely trying to like push papers, and as I mentioned, if you look at any of them, they all appear blank to you. But yeah, there's a workforce here, like of actual people like being employed, and most of them not usurper elves. Some of them usurper elves, absolutely, but I'd say it's like maybe 10% of the organization is usurper.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And at some point, you would probably see a very tall, lumpy man walking across one of the corridors as you're entering into an office space down the hall. He's extremely weird looking is the best way to describe it. And he does look at you, and as he looks at you, you see he's completely hairless, with one eye much larger than the other, scars covering even the worst of the lumps. As he looks towards you and looks and says, "Visitors, well, what can I do for you?"
Bogdan will just look up.
I shall look,
Oh,
looks
no.
down like you wanted to do this. You're having this conversation.
This is the realization that no, this Bogdan is the one who has to talk here.
Please, come into my office. And he turns and just walks into the office space, leaving the door open.
Yeah, Bogdan will just kind of like, all right, come on, let's go. You know, into the office.
I shall mutter something under their breath in deep speech. This is something to the effect of, "Oh, I can't believe we're doing this."
And for an Ebamari, that is like a deliberate act as well.
Yes.
It's verbal, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like sass.
Are you saying that as you're coming into the office, out of curiosity? Or are you
Before
Before?
Ashal moves, really.
Yeah. Okay. No worries.
Floats
then.
along the floor into the office. Please describe Rakaf's lovely office.
So, Rakath's office is what you would imagine like a middle-aged man who once lived his prime doing sports would look like, where he has like, you know, his greatest hits on a shelf, basically. But you guys would not know what that means, and it probably just looks like an extremely strange office because there's weird things on the shelves, things like a mirror that is completely black, things like a hand that is in a jar floating in some kind of weird substance. There is some other strange like herbs and gems and things like that just on a shelf there, all behind a glass case. That's probably the most notable feature. Other than that, there's a large desk with a chair that is built to accommodate someone of his stature, and it's fairly plain. Other than that, it's got a lovely window that looks out actually onto like the maelstrom above.
Like a bay window.
Basically, his office is the closest to that, and one thing you would have noticed with the architecture is that everyone else's working spaces are as far away from the maelstrom as possible. His office is the only one that's even a little bit close to it, and it's there is an observation deck that you can actually see out the window that's off to the side, and by that I mean it's a balcony that was converted into that with some telescopes and and some like just bolting downs, and there's some like straps and harnesses there just in case anything gets too fucking crazy and people are starting to fly off. They can strap themselves in.
Yeah, we don't know what we're dealing with. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't fucking know. It could go wrong at any point, so we prepare for the worst. So that's kind of what you see. It's actually a very simple office with only the one feature set, really. The desk does have drawers and stuff on this side of it. It's not just like a table, but yeah.
As Charles seeing the trophy cabinet, as Charles does actually very, very slightly relax, because weird magical objects, alchemical reagents and such like this actually like is somewhat, considering Ashal literally has some like brain rations in jars on their belt, this is actually like fairly typical stuff for Ashal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you'll find that as you get to know Rakath, you two might get along quite well if you're keeping weird shit in your bags. Because the other thing that you would notice
strapped
as
to his
well,
chest. Yeah.
That's fair. The other thing you would notice as well is that Rakath does still have his traveling bag that he carried with him when he was like all throughout Narashiro Nights. It's off in the corner. It still has a ladder attached to it and like a bunch of other random shit off of the bag. Like it is just the most weird mishmash of crap.
Yeah, it's so easy to tell that Rakath has been an adventurer. It's like not difficult at all.
He does not hide it.
Nah.
He's still wearing.
Because you might need to, you might need to jump out at any moment. So
yeah, quite literally if that storm hits. So yeah. But he sits down at the desk and actually motions for you two to sit down at the two chairs that are conveniently placed at the end of his desk. One appropriately sized for a dwarf and the other appropriately sized for an Ebamari.
As Charles' trust just went down a notch.
yeah, there's like a bar. We should have it on screen.
Yeah, it went up slightly. Now it's gone down.
Charles did not like that.
Yeah. Well, Bogdan will not take any time hesitating before he's in that chair. I just kind of like.
Yeah.
I feel like as Charles would float up next to the chair, probably wouldn't actually sit, would like lower their float so that they're on a bit more of a reasonable level, but not wouldn't actually sit down.
He would then greet you, both in Dwarven first and then in Deep Speech, and just say, "Welcome. What can I do for you?"
We, that is to say, my friend Ashal here, and I am Bogdan, agents of Oakshua, here on business directly related to strengthening the bonds of alliance between our nations.
The only reason Ashal has a straight face is because it's just tentacles.
You can't tell.
At this point, Rakath will actually just send a probe towards Asharl's mind and telepathically speak, saying, "Is he always like this?"
I think that would actually that would jolt Ashal. Ashal would actually visibly twitch at that, not expecting that in the slightest, and would sort of delicately extend the telepathy back and would be like, "That depends." No, actually, I forget. Ashal's telepathy is actually more like, "That depends."
It's true.
It's rather than the
Yeah.
scratchy voice.
Exactly.
Rakath just kind of nods, looking at the two of you, and then says, "Well, we here in Narashiro are always open to the ideas of strengthening bonds. How can I help?"
Well, as the sign outside your office states, we are looking for information, and we believe that you may be uniquely suited to provide information.
Information is not necessarily easily passed, depending on what it is.
Naturally.
Now, you said me uniquely. That's not this ward, that's not these people. So what is it you aim to do?
Well,
Should I close the door?
definitely.
He stands up and goes and closes his office door. You see a human was kind of coming up down the hall, and he just shakes his head and then closes the door.
So given that Bogdan, unaware of the linguistic proficiency of your staff, he does know that the three people in this room all share a common language that may not be common in Narashiro. So Bogdan, as soon as the door closes, will immediately transition into deep speech. And he'll say, we need to relocate an object.
You're talking about robbery. Oh, this is okay. That's far more simple than I imagined. Please, one moment. This is all in deep speech, by the way, and he just doesn't skip a beat in speaking quite comfortably in deep speech. And he'll go and he'll actually pull out a couple of glasses and some alcohol, and then he looks at you, Charles, and says, "Have you partaken? Would you like to?"
If it is something I can appreciate.
It is a fine whiskey.
I believe I will be the judge of that.
And he pours it, and this is you notice on the label it's definitely not from Narashiro. Doesn't really make sense where it's from necessarily. You can't really read it. Actually, that's a question. Can you read it? Does anyone read Sylvan?
No.
Then no, you have no.
That's about one of the that's the only underwear language I don't speak apart from Goblin.
Yeah. Then you definitely do not understand where it's from. And he slides the whiskey across and pours one for himself as well. What are you stealing?
My character definitely knows, but Jaken's a little foggy. Is it the map of Nor?
It's a map dating back to the Age of Fang that gives away the location of the Fanged Asylum. As well as presumably so many more ancient ruin. No, because it's not like a relic. It's just a really, really old map, but it's the only one that's known to have survived.
Okay.
So it doesn't have a cool legendary name. You can give it one.
We are looking, and again, all deep speech. We are looking to displace the map that.
You're speaking in deep speech. The only members of my staff that speak deep speech are the Ebimari, and they are currently not here. You don't need to speak in displaced terms. You can, in fact, speak in plain terms if you would like.
And if they were, you would not be able to keep this from them if they wanted to.
Yes, correct. But they're my staff. They don't work for Narashiro. They work for me.
Interesting. So, we wish to steal the map that dates back from the Age of Fang.
You want to steal from House Nor?
And in case you haven't laughed enough,
oh, that's very funny.
In addition to the two of us, we have an incredibly large pregnant woman as another asset.
Size does not matter for stealth. I'm not worried about that at all.
You haven't seen her.
I promise you, if someone wants to be stealthy, no matter their size, they can be stealthy.
Right. So you see our predicament. We don't have the skill sets for this caper, but we do have a incredible need.
I am not sure anyone has the skill sets for this caper. This is a fool's errand.
You do know that they are a house that is built around ancient, terrible magics, yes?
We have some familiarity with ancient and terrible.
This is nothing like anything either of you have ever seen, I can promise you that.
That actually gets Charles' attention.
Down, boy.
Like you see the tentacles like still and sort of. Charles is definitely paying a lot more attention now.
You're like a cat when the tail is wiggling, they're annoyed. When the tail is still, they're happy. It's the same.
Vorsnor is a dear friend of mine. His aunt is a crazy person. I like her a lot. She's a lot of fun. If she catches you, she will absolutely murder you in horrible, horrible ways.
Well, the reason I specifically was using the terms relocate is because if there is a way we could do this with the permission of House Norm, we would follow that line of thinking.
That is certainly not likely.
Then still it must be.
Well, not likely doesn't mean impossible.
Well,
You are facing two options, one of which is to die, and the other, which is to go the diplomatic route. And if you... He points at you, and his gnarled, lumpy fingers kind of maybe throw you off a little bit, as it's hard to remember that he's a big old lumpy man talking in front of you when he talks the way he does. You say you're diplomats.
correct.
Then be diplomatic. What exactly do you need it for?
I shall laugh again, like even louder.
We are currently engaged in a rather delicate operation. One that has a lot of moving parts. Suffice to say, we need it for leverage.
So you're trying to steal something from House Noor to blackmail somebody.
Not quite, but yes.
Who are you trying to blackmail? And he pulls up a file at this point and starts flipping through. I might be able to help you with something a little bit simpler than stealing.
Ashar will look at Bogdan at this point, like, and clearly you can tell they're like, this look is just, I'm just gonna say it if you're not, sort of look.
Does the moniker Mad Priestess mean anything to you?
Yes, it does.
Well, we may be currently involved in some delicate and complicated, what would you call it, Rochelle? Arrangements, negotiations, chess.
Insanity.
A large chess game of duplicity with the Mad Priestess involving one map.
And many spiderkin.
Yes.
Yes, she does that. How's the warehouse that she was set up in before? Still ruins?
Well,
She escaped from there a while back.
no, she's found herself a quiet little haunted asylum, where unfortunately
Complete
she's
with a
not trapped.
manifestation zone to the fell plane.
Would this asylum be the location where those, intruders slaughtered a bunch of old people years ago?
I only just got here.
No, it predates anything like that by a long way.
Oh, that's fine then. So, the Mad Priestess.
She wants the map. We want leverage over the Mad Priestess, so that we can
Why do you
uncover
want
her.
leverage over the Mad Priestess?
Well,
More accurately, she wants the map gone so that her location will remain hidden.
exactly. So we believe that if we procure the map, then we will have something she wants, and therefore we will have an advantage, one that we do not currently possess.
So, you
And-
realize that once you have the map, you become the sole targets of her aggression, correct? Because you are the ones who know her location, you are the ones who have the map to her location, you become the sole targets of her aggression. As long as the map stays with House Nor, in fact, you have leverage because House Nor, the absolute biggest threat to her existence, has a map to her location. If you simply tell House Nor where her location is, your problem is solved. You do realize that, yes?
Oh, I am operating under a lot of assumptions of what I've been told. Like I said, quite new here. This is like my 4th day with these people, and I have no idea what's going on.
Brand new.
Absolutely brand new.
Quite new really implies about like a few weeks.
No, I just arrived on the scene, and I'm trying to extrapolate all the information, and I've been dealing with the emotions of a very pregnant woman, and the enigmatic proclamations of a mind who's
insane.
Exactly. So this Ebimari,
man is a generic term.
This individual
Thank you.
Struck a conversation with the Mad Priestess to the tune of and now we're trying to figure out what to do with it. The Mad Priestess and my Ebimari companion have some kind of esoteric bond that we are trying to resolve. And to that point, I also have an incredibly pregnant, ascended usurper elf, and I'm just trying to get a leg up on the situation. If we have the map, that's something.
If you have the map, you become threatened. If
We're
you do
already
not have
threatened.
the map, you're still threatened, but to a lesser degree. Taking that map is a catastrophic blunder. This is maybe beyond you, but you play Traitor's Run.
I'm familiar.
Are you familiar, or do you play?
It's not a game I'm proficient in.
And you?
I never had the opportunity to partake in the finer sides.
Well, you're always welcome here to play if you would like. It's an open invitation. That
Can you
being
adjust
said-
your analogy to something more layman?
Yes. If you are walking through a gate, you have a choice. You walk through the gate or you don't. What's on the other side is a large number of bowmen waiting on an outpost. They're going to shoot you if you walk through the gate. If you don't walk through the gate, you're not through the gate. Not where you need to go. But on the other side of the gate is certain death. Do you walk through the gate?
Bring down the outpost.
Precisely. You find another way. What you are suggesting is suicide.
No. Actually, I'd like to talk about something else. You have suggested unleashing House Nor upon the Mad Priestess.
Well, not House Nor so much as the Shogun.
The new Shogun.
The new Shogun who has an army. To be fair,
Isn't
if you
the new
wanted to
Shogun-
do House Nor, I'm sure the Lady of House Nor would relish a chance to kill the Mad Priestess.
And what happens to the Spiderkin under her command? As much as I am not concerned personally with their well-being, VODs is interested, and our companion wishes them safe.
It's in our best
Unleashing-
interest if the spiderlings were not harmed.
Unleashing a murderous house or an army on her location does not seem wise.
Unless you could get the Spiderkin out first.
With bait of the map.
The map is not a bait. The map is suicide.
Unless House Nor were on our side of the equation.
I don't mean from House Nor. You are talking about a relic. One of a kind. Something that is irreplaceable. Because of that, if you have it, either of you, any of you, and you fall.
You're misunderstanding.
Red.
We have one mad priestess that, unless the Shah wishes to speak up, no one would bat an eye if she were gone. In fact, a lot of people would be better off, the three of us included. And we have something she wants. I don't need the map. I just need her to need the map. And we have that already. I just need a means to lure the mad priestess from where she is to where we can kill her.
What you need is for her to believe you have the map.
Fair enough. So, given your expertise, could you perhaps produce a suitable
Yes.
forgery? Excellent. What's your price?
First of all, I need access to the map in order to produce the suitable forgery, as it is one of a kind.
And you have a friend within House Noel?
I do, and that is something that I can sort out. Speaking
Excellent.
with Voss, he may be able to convince Azet. May. That is not a guarantee. I love her. She's a crazy person. She's very fun. We had great times, lots of ale. Also a little bit of murder. But not the point. The point is, she doesn't give up guarded secrets. This is a guarded secret. Voss may be able to convince her. Then I don't have access. Now, the Mad Priestess would understand what this map looks like.
Mm-hmm.
How old it is.
Correct.
The kind of aging and weathering that would take place. The kind of security that it would have in the Library of Nor. Yes, I can produce a forgery if I have a copy of it.
And what would be the price?
The Spiderkin.
Not for sale?
Not asking them for sale.
Then what are you asking?
Under the protection of Narashira. They would be well looked after.
In the same way they have been well looked after for millennia.
No. In the same way that my disenfranchised friends have been looked after for the last year.
A noble aspiration, but your facility seems small.
Ah, please, come with me. And he stands up and begins to open the door. Come along, it's time for the tour.
This is gonna be the Project Insight scene from Winter Soldier. Like 100%.
So he opens the door and starts to lead you down the hallway that you came in. And at one point, he just pulls on one of the torture devices on the wall, and
Like you do.
an entire bit of stone just slams down into the floor below, and you see an entire stairway leading into what would have been the stone facade of this cliffside. Come along. And he begins to lead you down, if you'll follow.
Before they follow, Michelle, who is this man?
I do not know, and I trust him less.
I haven't trusted anyone since I met you.
I have never trusted anyone, so I am not the best point of comparison.
Glad to see we have something in common. And then we fall.
The stairs lead down into a large chamber, which is sectioned off into many, many different paths and corridors that lead into the mountainside. They're stonework, mostly. Nothing brick, nothing sustained like a mining tunnel, more or less. Sustained by more like archways and set up like that. Not using fungal wood necessarily, because that is a pain in the ass and not very stable by comparison. So
No, it's like using harder stone to support softer stone. Yeah,
exactly.
It's very, very dwarven.
Yeah.
But just out of practicality, not like...
I mean, it was
Maybe.
probably mined by dwarves, to be fair as well, because there are a large number of dwarves under Rakath's employ. So he begins to walk down one of the corridors and leads you to an area that actually continues for quite some time. This is a long walk down a long.
It's like a salt mine.
Yeah, and it goes for quite some time, and he's quiet if you guys are quiet walking along.
It's a loud walk if he's not trying to be quiet.
Because he's got kind of a half-step limp with his right leg, so big old hefty boy. But and eventually, after about a half-hour walk, you get to a point where it opens up into kind of almost a fungal forest-looking area below a cliffside. And he turns to you and says, "Welcome."
Is this phase 2 of Project Genesis?
This is a home away from home, a quiet place, a space for those who don't fit elsewhere.
Mr. Rakath.
Rakath, please.
Mr. Rakath.
Thank you.
Whom do you serve?
That depends on who you ask.
I'm asking you.
If you're asking me, I serve no one. But
So you're
if
not...
you're asking me an honest question, no, neither of you should trust me.
Oh, please.
Not that you were.
I'm new to the situation, not to the world.
I'm aware. More to your conversation earlier. No, you shouldn't trust me. But if I sign a contract, I adhere to it, and you can check that anywhere.
And what is your interest in the Spiderkin? Forgive me for doubting that I would come across 2 individuals from Narashiro who act out of the goodness of their heart.
What do you see when you walk into that intelligence ward?
Variety.
What do you see when you look at me?
Difference.
Do you know what Rakath means in Elvish?
I am afraid it is not a tongue I am conversant with.
It means monster. Because they didn't know what to call me when I entered this city. They took me in, they tortured me. They called me monster. They called me a half-Fomorian. Didn't even know what that was myself. Do now, obviously. But no, the people of this city don't see difference and see opportunity. They see difference and they see danger. If you interact with Spiderkin, try to bring them under anyone's protection anywhere, they will be killed. I won't kill them. My interest is simple. Diversity should be celebrated, not killed off.
How are you able to hide all this from the government?
I don't. They don't know that this chamber is what it is. Come with me.
And he turns around and walks down to another corridor. Halfway down.
My tentacled friend, I envy your ability to levitate. Let's go.
He walks you down another corridor that leads to a chamber filled with devices, filled with cages, filled with heinous implements.
This is what they believe this place to be. This is what they believe this development to be. A torturer's chamber.
I see.
My former trade, they would have you believe. Accurate, too, in my time in Narashiro. But not my time before. Just learned that recently. No. They believe that this expansion is a way that they can turn a blind eye to the things that I would do. So I built it. And have them believe that that's exactly what it's for.
And they turn a blind eye to the things you do.
To the things they think I do.
Logistically speaking, how would you migrate a village, town worth of Spiderkin into this hovel?
That is an excellent question. One that the fewer people who know, the better.
So you are is this the your establishment here? Sans the secret base. Is the whole of the Nearshore Intelligence Network or a part?
He just smiles.
So they have a foreigner who employs foreigners with a heart of gold running their covert action. This is
Who would expect such a thing?
excellent.
Look, I didn't say they were smart. I said they were my friends. It's very different.
So, you want to take the Spiderkin under your protection, and honestly, that works for me. Michelle?
I cannot. This is the best option for their continued protection that I have yet come across. And their protection is what Oshun cares about.
Forgeries. They require materials, and something ancient like that. It will require specific inks. It will require specific paper. It will require a specific implement for writing. I have some of these things, but not all. The ink is difficult to come by.
All right.
Expensive.
So, the Spiderkin weren't the only prize.
No, they are. More what I'm saying is that that ink is actually easier found most of the time than purchased.
Where will we find it?
That's a good question. I don't know. Not offhand. Because the last supply I was aware of I took. You know, it's been used. That being said, there are several different collectors in the city who would be aware of where to find that kind of thing.
A list of names?
I can give you a written list.
Could you also provide us a believable alibi for why we'd be seeking the ink? Something
Yes.
legal?
Yes.
Excellent.
Very simple. I requested it.
Well, there you go.
You're a dwarf and an Ebamari in Narashiro. They're not gonna question why you're coming into a store if you have a writ from Rakath.
That might come in handy.
It should. So what else can I do for you?
Well, I have a different transaction I'd like to propose to you.
Should I be present for this, or is this the reclamation of your kingdom?
Rakath kind of chuckles at that.
Do whatever you want, Ebamari.
If you're interested, down that corridor to the left, there are some magical reagents. Feel free to store up your stocks.
Most gracious. And Ashal will float away.
There's one weird thing that you'll notice in there that you might pick up some of, but all you can determine how much of that is left. That's still the black glass ink that's there. He would have been working to create more throughout this entire period.
Yeah, so there would be, enough for you to get essentially 1 unit of the black glass ink that is, I mean, that's the stuff that's saturated with void, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as an Ebamari, like, the presence of it kind of tingles like a 6th or 7th sense within you. So you could definitely get, like, that would be the get, right, from this little warlock's chamber.
Yeah, that is very much what that area is, by the way, when you go in there. It is just like, that little trophy case that he had in his office? Think that, but like 20 times as much stuff. And like just trophies on trophies on trophies.
There's also a
You're gonna
fish.
There is also a fish, that's true. He is there.
There
He
is a
does
large fish that
really menacingly when you come in the room.
very uncomfortable when this fish looks at you, and it looks at you, and you know it's looking at you, and it's looking into you.
It's the same kind of like telepathic connection that Rakath made with you earlier, but it's just staring. It is as if staring was a conversation.
Mind staring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just mental staring, and it is like just it's there.
Fair enough.
All right,
Yeah.
Bogdan, King, Prince. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Prince Bogdan, with a little more privacy in Rakath's secret garden, which sounds like a Ghibli movie, by the way. Go ahead.
I would like to spend a day or two looking at all the intelligence you have on the wall of Abu Nar.
So it's true then, Prince Bogdan.
That's right. I'm the rightful heir of the Black Jar. And when I reclaim my throne, I shall remember everyone who has aided me. And their compassion. He looks over at the corridor leading to the, large...
Compassion!
By the way, Ollie, just for note, I believe that this about here is the location of the intelligence quarters.
Yeah, it's like
right there.
it's that's what I imagined too. It's basically the west side of Narashiro into the bedrock that
leading-
makes up the walls of the place.
So that corridor does go to the Underfey.
Yeah, it will eventually open up there if dug through completely.
Like this first chasm is kind of just like a weird little valley opening, but if you go to the other side, there is actually a continued hole being dug through that's going towards the Underfey.
That's what I got at. Yeah, it's Because it isn't really the fungal forest that you would see in Narashiro either. It's wilder, even though it's clearly a enclosed garden.
So he just kind of crosses his arms and leans against the wall, which is a very uncomfortable sight, because, you know, when someone leans against the wall, it looks all cool and suave normally, right? That is not the case with Rakath. He looks like he's, like, angled kind of like this against the wall, which I know that seems weird given the, like, I'm not saying, like, one of these is the wall. No, this is all Rakath. Very top-heavy, kind of weirdly lumped against the wall with his arms crossed. And he just kind of... looks at you and says,
So, reclamation. That's a topic.
You could call it that.
My info on the wall of Abunar is... well, from a usurper elf's perspective.
It works for me.
So this intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
what are you hoping to find? Because I may be able to actually just help point you to it.
I'm sure you have a wealth of information. And together we could come up with what I need. But there is the matter of time, and the longer I'm seeing with you, I'm sure you're aware, people talk.
People talk. I'm an extremely honest individual.
It's a rarity in your trade.
No one ever believes me anyways.
Well, I've already stated my intentions plainly, and you've already
Yeah.
surmised the rest. I seek to reclaim the Blackjaw. I want to find weaknesses, movements I can exploit, dissent, military leaders that might be swayed to my lineage. Anything that could be
loud.
better.
Do you want to do this quiet or do you want to do it loud?
It depends on how much resources I can acquire. To supplant the usurper off of the Blackjaw, there are many ways you can go about it. They rely entirely on the resources that I have at my disposal. I would gladly count you among those resources, but you are an agent, albeit self-employed, of a foreign government, and so I shall have to gauge our relationship carefully.
I mean, I can just go kill them if you want.
Wouldn't accomplish anything. There is
Would accomplish something. They'd be dead.
I suppose you're not wrong, but there is a deep speech is a difficult language sometimes.
It is. It is that little bit of stumbling that happens when you can't just think it. Because
Yes.
verbalization of deep speech is very strange, and honestly, it's very uncomfortable a lot of the time. That movement you have to do with your tongue where it goes side to side and then up sharply to make that one particular clicking sound, very difficult.
Yes.
I mean, a practiced tongue is important, but, you know, it's,
Practice tongue has served me well in the past.
yes.
Hold
Hold
there
on.
is a-
Wait 1 moment. Was that an innuendo?
I wouldn't know what you mean.
I'm not good at catching those. I don't really do that.
No, I just mean I'm an active functioning diplomat.
Fair enough.
At least that's what they call me. No, thank you, Ian. I just read chat. Fuck.
Hard to keep focused when chat is going on.
Yeah. Okay. There is a rite of ascension that must be adhered to. One cannot simply kill the reigning monarch and supplant him. I need backing. I need support.
I mean, isn't that pretty much exactly what happened when the usurper took over? They killed the reigning monarch and then supplanted them?
Well, I see you're not completely versed, but then again, you look rather young.
I'm not old. But also, more or less, yes, there's a process that takes place, and yes, there's a functional step-by-step process, of course.
My line was stricken by a curse, which weakened our position on the Blackjaw. The longer the curse persisted, the weaker we became, until our removal was not only expected, but it was justified and right. But it has been centuries since that time, and the curse has been lifted, and I have come to reclaim the Blackjaw as I have been ordered to by the voice, my love.
Interesting.
And therefore, I must make sure that it is done properly in the eyes of the people.
Fair enough. So no murder then.
No murder yet.
Fair enough.
For now, I need allies. That's what I seek.
This curse. Tell me about it.
Ollie!
Your curse. You made it up. Do you remember?
I remember saying, "Boy, he sure was cursed."
All right, I can give you the lowdown. The curse was that it was essentially a curse of bad luck and short lifespans.
I was gonna say bad luck. So I was happy. I am Frank and slept since then.
Yeah, it was been a long time since we made this character. We made it like a month and a half before you ever got in the show as well. No.
I remember bothering you for like a whole week. I'm like, I should shut up.
No, hell, this is Jarviskjir. This is the one campaign you can get away with that. Yeah, the Alabast family line has a curse of which manifests in different ways, but it ends up in early and untimely deaths, which for a dwarf means probably rarely that much past 100, right?
And the bad luck part would, from a ruler, would probably be not great.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And also, every time a ruler dies, there is a shuffling, and that war and war and war on the Deep Dwarf Society. At least that's what people said, right? That's what the new people on the throne said, that the curse is just time more. Yeah, this is relayed. Yeah,
articulate that. Yeah,
it's like you could go as like, well, my father's father died this way. It's like every relative, you have a story of how they died and how it's definitely part of the curse. It's very much like What Remains of Edith Finch. Everyone has died in tragic and sometimes ironic ways.
Yeah, and so he'll also mention that the last Alabast to sit on the Blackjaw was Bogdan II, and he is Bogdan V. So it has been a long time since his family's been involved.
So Rakath is still kind of leaning against the wall and just says,
"And you're positive these people weren't killed?"
It fits the curse if they were.
It fits the curse, or it fits the narrative of the curse. I'm not trying to displace your entire history here, more just looking at all of
No, I respect your perspective. Let me put it this way. It doesn't matter if a god cursed us, if a beggar cursed us, or if there was no curse at all. What matters is the story that the people have heard for centuries.
I understand that aspect. It's very important to win people over to your side. I don't know if you're familiar what happened here in Narashiro, but that's precisely what took place.
I have tried to keep up with current events, but my mind has been fixated on one location for some time.
Fair enough. We have a new daimao and a new shogun and a new head of intelligence. That all took place because we gathered the loyalty of the people after an event of catastrophic measure. And we stepped up, and we made a difference. And that's why we're here. We're not all good people, but we're all people who can get shit done. And that is important for people to understand. So you taking a look at this, I understand. You taking a look at what you're doing, I understand. You taking a look at vulnerabilities, areas that you can move through, I understand. What you may not have accounted for is if it wasn't a curse and it was a particular force, if that force is still around, they will do everything they can to see you never reclaim that throne.
I can say with some degree of confidence that the ruling powers at the wall, given my father's legacy, are convinced that the Alabast family is done.
Convinced they are done and convinced they are not a threat are two very different things.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
In my trade, not so much. I am very specifically asked by Narashiro to look over the people who have been stomped out, to make sure they don't rise again. There is no doubt that the Wall of Abunar does the same thing. Finding out who those people are, and finding out where their vulnerabilities are, is a first step for you.
I have no shortage of enemies, this I know. I do not need help narrowing down who among the council is against me. It is going to be a much shorter list to find who was actually on my side. I presume they're all my enemy, and I will deal with them. But first I need to know who I can count on.
Now, Rakath, you have 1/1.5 connections in Abanir that aren't ones that you have from being your new job, because of course you do. You know people you can talk to.
Yeah, I know lots of people from the new job, but I have old connections that are a little bit maybe more appropriate for this, to be fair.
Over the last year, Univara has become quite close with Lord Deepspine. Lord Deepspine is not an official, is not elected or anything, and for Rakath's curiosity, did appear to just show up one day, and is the individual who makes Duros. The Duros are the automata that now serve as the backbone, or really the front fist of the Deep Dwarf army. That, because they are new and they're not really connected to the politics, could be a very good connection for this.
And Ragath's still holding that one a little bit close to the chest.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that that's
yeah.
a something, and also now Jaken as a player knows that that's something to worm on.
All right.
But I know, it just sort of a thought, because especially that's something that Yuna's been working on. Yuna is now currently really assigned to rest at the house for the next couple of years. But it's an in if you were willing to give. Of course, Rakath might not be willing to give yet.
Rakath at this point is just kind of still contemplating and still thinking about what the options are, and he just says,
So I come back to the original question. Quiet or loud? For now.
For now, let's keep it quiet. And, I understand that I need to find out what my enemies plan for me. One step at a time.
More or less, it's not what they have planned for you. It's what you can do to make sure that whatever they plan, no matter what it is, fails.
On the most basic day-to-day level, I don't die.
Fair enough. My files are slim. Come with me.
and
No,
he-
no.
You don't want to walk.
Well, if we are to engage in business, I would prefer to not be indebted to you
There's no
And-
debt here.
yet.
No, there is no debt here. I don't give a shit what your personal aspirations are. I don't give a shit what you think this business transaction is. It's not one. This is me offering up a service that is free of charge for those who would do something to help others. You help those spiderkin, and we're fine.
I can agree to that. To the files, then.
Indeed. And he'll probe out mentally to Ashal and say, we're heading up to the file room in deep speech. It's back where you came.
There's a sense of acknowledgement from Ashal, who seems rather focused on something swimming.
Yeah.
I mean, just knowing that, Rakath will just say, he does bite.
All right, this is a great place to take a little break. I need a snack. Very important. That's what most of the breaks on this show are for. So we'll be back in like 5-ish minutes. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Bam. Okay. So Rakath leads the party, although Ashal a little bit ways behind, to, I imagine, basically the records of this ward. Now, I would imagine it's very similar to like an old school records room where it's just like metal files, but probably with telepathic warding so that only you and Ebamari people could interact with it. That's just like my immediate thought, but feel free to change it.
You know those halls that are record halls where you have to like in libraries we have to like rotate a crank to move the metal shelving?
Yes.
It's that, except it is, you're right, it is a telepathic move of like it's
a Library of
actually,
Congress.
That's cool. Yeah, it's like telepathy
Library of
to
exactly.
interact with the things.
to turn the crank to move the stuff. And and so it is just a big old wall, like walled hallway of just metal that you see first, and then Rakath will just kind of like turn with his mind and turn one of them and open it up to the corridor that we need to go into, where there are just boxes and boxes and boxes of files. And as you recall, he said his collection is quite slim. So he says,
This set of shelves is the only things I have on the Abunar. This shelf here,
and he's pointing to the entirety of the shelving units.
The whole
so
walls.
it is
Yeah.
all of the walls down about 80 feet, and it's about a 10 shelf high unit, with a ladder that he kind of pulls out that runs along a little track on both sides. And he says,
so this is all I've got. It shouldn't take you too long to go through it, presumably.
No, not if I can have a good share.
Ashal will look at it, and without even really looking at one, what do you need specifically? At Bogdan.
So everything.
Fair. Ashal will just like will float up a bit and we'll just start law keeping and just like basically we'll go through stuff and just be like, this is this, and basically sort it so that Bogdan can actually read it.
That's a good
I
idea.
imagine it's sorted anyway, but
There's a point of order while you're doing that because it also tells you who wrote it, correct?
Yeah, usually. If it's like marked,
Yeah. So all of these are written by Rakat's hand.
fair.
Every single one that you come across is written by Rakat's hand.
You get like because Ashal sometimes because Ashal doesn't have great control over their telepathy, and if their telepathy is open as opposed to the normal shut off, which it kind of has been, you do get a sort of sense, a vague sense of respect about that, just the amount of writing.
Yeah, took a long time.
How far back do your records go?
That's a good question. How far back would his records go? Because he would have specifically been looking to acquire this stuff as early as
dwarves keep history.
Yeah, and he would have been looking to acquire and take notes on, and he would have gone through the proper channels for that. So he actually probably would have records of like several hundreds of years at this point.
No, easily a good few generations since before. Since before the Coal Guard line took over the Blackjaw and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he would say
Only a few generations worth.
Sure. I plan to read this in its entirety, and it may take me some time.
There's a set of tables over there.
What I mean to say is, it can wait. If we need to secure this ink sooner rather than later.
Reasonable suggestion.
Okay, so put this aside for future.
I shall like stops like midway.
I'm not sure going through all this history is gonna, make for good stream.
Well, it would be a swoosh forward. Yeah, I wouldn't tell you all the things. It would be a you now have things for later. But it's also totally fair to do that in like future downtime or in another visit.
Sure.
Up to you.
Yeah. Well, let's say we spend like the rest of the day.
Cool.
Being nerds.
Mm-hmm.
Ashar will also like once they finish sorting the those dwarven books with lawkeeping, Ashar is just going to wander around casting lawkeeping on things, and unless Rakath stops them.
No, and he'd actually probably guide you to a few areas as well of interest, and he would ask,
You're a spellcaster, yes?
Such is my curse. Yes.
Then you may be interested in this.
and he takes you to a specific hallway, essentially, which is not quite in that same wall of stuff. It's a separate corridor that's basically his personal study area. And he brings you into that area and says,
This is all of my research into the void.
Irony that one not of my own kind has more access to it than I do.
Well, consider yourself with access.
In like Ashal will like think deep, will sort of fall into thought, and then will bring out the very tatty book that is like Ashal's equivalent of a spell book, even though they don't actually use it as a spell book, and is going to flip through to some of the newest pages and is just gonna. They spend a couple of minutes just staring at it, and you get the sense they're like just double checking their memories for it, and will pull out a bunch of the newest pages and sort of offer them to Rakath and say, "It is a different area. I hope you speak Umbral."
Interesting. He takes it, and he does not speak Umbral, but he does give it a look over anyways, and reads through it without much issue, because he has Eyes of the Rune Keeper. Yeah. So, you know, he just reads through it, and
It's
like you
yeah.
actually
No, go ahead with the
ahead.
C.
I was gonna say you do see his eyes go full black as he reads it, but
The thing that would be interesting is the research Rakath has on the Void, and the research as Charles is starting on the Shadow Realm, the Uhaga, is the exact same mentalities. You have both had an interaction with that plane and are seeking more through study and understanding. It's not the study of the plane from a cosmological objective. It's from a, what is this place? What does the magic for this place do? What can it be used for? What inhabits it? And I think that'd be very interesting. That it is exactly the same mentality, just two different places. The Void and the Shadow Plane are two different places. From Rakath's understanding, the Void really doesn't fall on any cosmological scale. It is kind of a place without, whereas the Shadow Realm is directly tied to the material realm. It's one of the mirror planes, but very just interesting, cool gamer info for you.
yeah, and he'll finish reading through it, and he'll hand them back to you and say, "Do you mind if I copy those out mentally?"
By all means.
He nods.
Equal and fair trades of knowledge are one of the few things available to me.
Well, any of my knowledge on the Void, or any of the other planes, they're here, written down, taken note of. There's study of the Void, study of the ethereal, and study of the material, but more about its interactions with other places, things, shadows too. And then those that bastardize all of it. Plenty of study around that corner over there.
And you just see like this kind of a little bit more of a bloodied section. Like quite literally it's just notes with like bloodied stuff on it, because he's probably accidentally brought things in, and those things have then had to be killed, and it's just been a mess. So there's one corner of this private library space that is just like a little bit of a mess.
You don't want a demon summoning corner in the public library.
No.
No.
And to be fair, none of this is public.
And there's also no demons.
Yeah.
No fiends from
No
the
fiends.
hells.
Yes, no fiends. One devil was summoned at one point, but that
There-
was just to,
yes,
you know.
He
officially.
took one look at the devil with the red line through it. And he's like, I gotta leave. This is a devil-free zone.
Devil-free
Devil-free
zone.
zone.
So technically, Rakath has had encounters with Nephilim, aka devils and demons summoned by Ivrith and people who worship Ivrith. If a demon or a devil is summoned by a holy caster, they become Nephilim, taking on the aspects of their god. But I don't think you'd have any interest in the hells yet. I mean, there would be like for surface level stuff, I imagine.
There's like a placeholder section for the hells.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll
it's very
add
clearly
later.
going to
Yeah,
happen at some point, but it has not happened yet.
that fits
That's
very
from
well.
the future. And there are placeholder sections for like other planes of existence,
Like the
as well,
Fae
which-
and
Exactly, and the Fae section is notably bare, despite the fact that there is the Under Fae just, you know, not that far away. It is a notably barren section of this private library.
Ashal is just going to start law keeping, looking through things, reading things,
Sure.
writing things down. Like if Rakath is sort of hanging around and watching, you would notice that the writing in this tatty notebook is just switching languages, generally to the most appropriate one for the whatever they're currently reading. But it's switching between about 5 or 6 different languages, and if there's one that they clearly don't know, like Sylvan, then it would go to Undercommon or Deep Speech, and it's just it's a messy.
Can you give me an investigation check with advantage, Ashal? Rakath is giving you advantage. And all this while, like, this is what Ashal does for the rest of the day. Bogdan is going over the research of Abanir and mostly the people, the keys to the kingdom that could potentially be swayed or not swayed, where their allegiances lie and some such. Dwarves are a pragmatic people.
Rakath would have, yes, there's a lot of just the history there as well, but he would also have his own personal notes in there about the people that he interacted with, and more importantly, the intelligence structures that are there, and the people who adhere to those, because he needs to know those people, so he knows what kind of practices they undertake, so he knows how to defend their Shiro in case of a potential attack. So there's lots of those notes as well.
You know what? I'll actually give you something on that. I just need to look something up, so I will give Ian's little tidbit first. While you're going through the information about umbral assets, shadow magic, and the shadow plane, you actually find a couple of notes not written by Rakath. Noticeably not. Cleaner. Essentially having small stickers on there. Some assets written by Univara de Vescos from a very brief time that she spent with Lathura Dorneb, who had a definite interest in a shadow-infused crystal that they recovered from a haunted hotel. They gave it to Lathura, and Lathura studied it, and in the time, both Univara has ruminated on it as a wizard would, and also has done some studies and got some of the official study of it. Noticeably, Rakath would have realized that this crystal was officially not official. It wasn't like a thing. It was a private study that only a couple of people knew about. Assumedly, Univara, Lathura, and the Mad Priestess.
When they come across that, Ashal will pause, and there's like a noticeable period of like weighing something up mentally, and then sort of the telepathy reaches out. Ashal's is a lot more like jagged and rough than most Ebimari, but will reach out and say you are... I do not trust you, but you are a person of, if not honor, you are someone that I feel it is worthwhile giving the benefit of the doubt to. This is not perhaps useful information now that your former daimao is presumably aether dust or whatever happened to her. The Mad Priestess. Bogdan alluded to a conversation I had with her. The Mad Priestess alluded to seeking to follow the same path as Lathura in that asylum, where there was a manifestation zone to the fell.
Rakath just nods.
I am not sure that your former daimao I cannot say if they had Narashiro's best interests at heart, but I believe they were in service to something other than this city's god.
Everett.
Yes, just a hunch, and one you might wish to consider.
My understanding is that they were in service of themselves more than anything else. And control. And control of magics. But something beyond is more what you mean, isn't it?
Yes, leaders seeking power is something I am familiar with. It is something that is expected. It is something that tends to harm, but on a level that is within the limits of our material reality. My companions laughed off when I expressed concern for the fabrics of our material plane with what the Mad Priestess hopes to do. Perhaps I am jumping at shadows. Void knows I have steeped myself in them recently, but as a Spymaster and someone who cares or wants to protect the downtrodden, keep an eye out.
Well, if your group kills the Mad Priestess, there's less concern.
Until whatever seduced her and her master reaches out to others.
There's always outreach. You can't help that. People will be seduced. It's all about snuffing them out before they gain too much. Or fostering the ones who have the right in mind. My connection to the void is deep.
And he will, at this point, just kind of lean back, and he was speaking out loud in response to your telepathy before, and in this case, he'll respond telepathically a little bit more.
My connection is through an unknowable being, a being of knowledge, granted me the gift of sights, of knowledge, of understanding. Mirrors in an endless void. Everything is connected. Everything is dangerous. What is it that you would see done? jumping at shadows is important. Keeps you alive.
I would see security. I would see those who are different, those who are strange, are those that are the first to be cast aside, to be sacrificed. My magic is not natural for my people. If I could, I would sever that connection.
I think there are many who would say the same in your position, but there are many who wouldn't. You call it a curse, and it is, in a way. But it's also a blessing. You have insight that others would not. You have perspective that others can never have. When I came, they tortured me to get information about who I was and why I was here. They had never seen something like me. They'd seen Fomorians, big old giant bastards. But never something like me. And so they tortured me. I told them what they were doing wrong, and so they employed me. Different perspective. A terrible curse of knowledge. Because the moment that you share that knowledge, the moment that you share who you are, they will see you only for it. But, as I hope you've seen here today, we are not only what we appear to others, and you cannot take your curse as all you are.
That's more meaningful coming from one who understands a portion of it than the proselytizers could ever convey.
Well, know that you'll never be cast out here. You are welcome here, as you are.
You get a sense of gratitude, like as Charles is clearly not good at speaking that, like, well,
Yeah.
they're not speaking aloud, they're not good
Yeah.
at putting that into words, but and then we'll just like securing into something slightly completely different, like you get a topic switch. The telescopes on the balcony, you study the storm.
Well, you alluded to what happened to the former Daimao as being turned into aether dust. I don't necessarily believe that's what happened. Yes, I study the aether. I study its interactions. I have for a long time, long before this.
He points in the general direction of the storm. You know, that goop that you picked up. He motions to the bag that he definitely knows you, of course, took some of the goop, even if it's not openly visible. I tried mixing aether dust with that at one point. Don't do that. Would not recommend it. Very explosive. Just absolutely massive explosion. But yes, I study the aether.
That storm, my magic comes from a place of acid rain and lightning and thunder. That storm calls to me.
Well, I can tell you it will devour you if you go up into it.
Without the proper precautions, at least.
Yes. We've made that mistake once, unfortunately.
Perhaps when I am able to move more freely, or my turn comes as a member of this group of diplomats.
Can I just say, none of you are diplomats. It's a very important note. I worked for a diplomat house for a very long time. I was a diplomat for a very long time.
Rude.
None of you are diplomats. It's a nice title, and it gets you where you need to go, but you're not diplomats.
You have not met the most diplomatic member of our team, but even so, I would agree. But my point being that when the time comes, I would study that in greater detail. So you will have an ally in that, if you so wish it.
I'm glad to hear that. Yes, of course. This section over here is what I have on the Aether so far.
And it's this not barren section, it's like just clearly being started. It's a section that's got like maybe like 5 folders of notes in it.
And
Like,
notably, all of the folders have the seal of the Palace Arcanum stamped on them.
Yes.
You are not allowed to study the Aether on your own. You do,
No. I do.
but the Palace Arcanum, being the school of magic, is
Yeah.
officially overseeing it. But
yeah, that's one of the things that they and I disagree on when it comes
For
to
sure,
how that actually
right?
functions. And
Yeah.
even though I've stamped those with the seal of the Palace Arcanum, so no one else touches them, the Palace Arcanum also doesn't touch those. That's very much. He's just forged the seal of the Palace Arcanum
that's
for those
actually
papers.
perfect. Yeah, and they get
Yeah.
versions of the records that are
Yeah. Exactly.
It really is just the
So-
fucking CIA.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, correct. That is what
Yeah.
it is based on. Actually, you know what I've been kind of basing this around is from the Umbrella Academy, the time.
I haven't actually started seeing that yet, but I'll probably notice that in the
watch it.
future.
But that's
It's good.
100% what
It's
the
good.
offices are based on here. So
It's pretty fitting. Before you go and start, like Bogdan, I actually want to give you some stuff. Now,
yes.
neither you or me know if we'll ever actually do Bogdan's story like on stream, but I do want to give you some cool information. So, the Wall of Abenir, the Deep Dwarves, worship the voice in the walls. Othram Nadahir, if you do need to say their name, but saying their name is you know, it's weird how the usurper elves of Narashiro say the name of their goddess so freely. As if the name, it still has respect on their tongues, but just in the same way that like the name of a family member would, not a divine entity that has changed the course of their history. It's the only god worshipped in the city, but there are 3 separate churches. Quite similar to Narashiro, but they're all connected. It's not like Narashiro where people have differing opinions, it's just the churches have different purposes. The Church of the Walls, the main church, runs the law. It is also basically the parliament. It also runs paladins and clerics that operate as like the city guard. The Church of Maces trains the military, and they are really deemed to be a blunt object, right? They don't need to know. They need to be pointed at things. And then there's the Church of Myr, which is a church of grave clerics, necromancers, grave diggers, that kind of thing, where they're necessary if controlled. The Church of the Walls and the Church of Myr together operate as the intelligence force of the city. Because the Church of the Walls is paladins and people who use the magic of the wall for the sake of law, and then there's the Church of Myr, who are kind of similar to Rakaf. They're the ones who are getting their shit dirty whenever necessary. But it's not the greatest. The records are. Bear in mind, the Treaty of the Deep was only signed 6 years ago. Before then, every culture in the Underrealm was essentially at war. So there is intelligence about how the Deep Dwarves would react to an attack from Usurper Elves, the Ebmari, the Deep Gnomes, the Surface, all of that kind of thing. Interestingly, one of the things that would come up in Rakaf's information, especially because Rakaf kind of has to operate as a bit of a war spymaster, is that theoretically, the Wall of Abernir, the Deep Dwarf home city, is the most at-risk place from a surface invasion in the Underrealm. If that were to happen, it would happen there first. There is an open connection to the surface in that city. Or very, very close to in like the same district and region. Narashiro, it's further away. Ebmaro, really far away. But the dwarves have been prepared to fight for a long time. It's even part of your religion. When a deep dwarf loyal to the voice dies, they go to the afterlife ready to fight the surface dwarves in their afterlife over and over. It's just the nature of it. But that is a huge security flaw. It's from the surface. Anyway, just a little lore dump for you of stuff that may be relevant in the future or further avenues to take, and also just, stuff. Stuff. Especially as you're quite similar to Ocean in a way. You worship the voice in the walls, but in your own unique way. Not really. I mean, maybe you even had some training with the Church of Walls, the Church of Maces, but it's separate. It's your own thing. So it's cool. I thought it'd be cool to show you the originals. Given that you two spend the rest of the day researching, the next day, would you want to start going out and getting... your main mission is to acquire an ancient ink so that we can have a forgery.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Okay. Rakaf would have given you guys a list of names of retails in the city and locations. One location would stand out. It's at the bottom of the list. And it is a place you have been the last time you were here. A illegal magic shop.
Ah, the old schlop.
The old schlop! An illegal magic shop in the slums where you got Jack, your automata that is strapped to a shawl. I think, because you would obviously look through the whole list before you go anywhere. The fact that that person is on the list, and also noticeably name unknown, where Rakaf, a spymaster, should know everyone's name or title or what they're referred to. No, even on this list, it's mercurial enough to have nothing. But, if you went down that far, that would be reaching at straws. Why would they have an arcane ancient thing if you can't get it from the noble collectors and other stuff?
Going there fast.
Of course. Excellente. I wouldn't have it any other way.
So we're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be the vibe.
At the bottom.
The vibe. Okay.
Started from the bottom, and now we're here.
Still
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah. We got it.
Correct. Yeah.
You guys can head down to the depths of the city, to its you're not really in the slums, but you're not far away. To this old abandoned warehouse that many of the places have become home to squatters or even worse, gentrifiers. In this case, it's kind of both. Now that I think about it, the strange magic merchant that you'd encountered here before, you can head inside, and the place seems different somehow, but it's hard to manage. It is the same shop with the same circular desk in the middle with stuff all over the place, but the stuff is either different or in different places or both. The supply of what's on sale is seemingly constantly at shift, and just generally quite curious. That merchant is still there, a mage, clearly, an old-looking usurper elf with a long, straight beard. The only usurper elf you've ever encountered that has a beard. They will look up at you with actually surprisingly young eyes. One is a kind of pinkish purple and one is green. You're not even sure if that was the case last time because you definitely would have noticed. But at the same time, he kind of had his head down a lot and was kind of working on things. And this individual will notice you. They're kind of vaping right now. On like a little pen that smoke comes out of. It's not like a pipe or anything. It's like its own weird thing. You've never seen anything quite like it. And they'll kind of like puff on it a bit. Like, you came back. I do hope it wasn't for the that creature, the automaton, the golem. I do need to apologize somewhat that I suppose it wasn't exactly mine to sell to you. But I hope it's been serving you well, if it's been serving you at all. What has it been doing? I'm very interested.
Ashral pokes it.
It seems to be mostly dormant most of the time, but it's like iris aperture, like it just kind of looks around for a bit.
No. We're actually looking for something else, and we were hoping that you could help us.
It has not caused any problems yet, at least.
Well, that's excellent. You should keep an eye on it. It's bound by nature to be a problem, I believe.
Could you tell us more about it?
You do not need fear reprisal if it is not yours to sell. If you have any more information on it.
When you go into an illegal magic shop, you assume all sales are final.
As final as the flow of time, irreversible, I think you'll find. Yes. That little creature, that little harmless, very harmful thing is called a mort. Comes from the plane of law. It is, well, it started following me around one day, so I trapped it.
So, we're looking for some ink.
Ink that would be suitable for a document from the Age of Fang.
Age of Fang. Which one is that exactly? He turns and starts shuffling through what are framed pictures on his desk, but not treated with any respect. They are like under things. He's in all of them. They don't look like paintings. They're way too like clean and crisp. And
This motherfucker's got selfies.
Yeah.
He has capture image spell.
Noticeably, and he's with different people each time. You two give me perception checks.
Oh god, I want a good roll on
I
this.
know Ian wants a good roll.
Really hoping he has
Please.
one with Rakath, because I think that would
I
just
mean,
be funny.
that's
Rakath
not
has been
terrible.
here.
Yeah,
that's
my
good
point.
enough
I'm
to
saying he has a
notice.
selfie with Rakath.
You
yeah.
rolled a little higher than me.
Just a little bit, huh?
In one of the pictures, ones that he discards, and just puts it aside. So actually ends up quite close to you, Ashal. He is standing beside a golden scaled dragon woman wearing high quality armor with a bronze toned city in the background.
That's interesting.
And I'll let Ian think about that for the next fucking year in real time. As he fetches something. Yeah, I know. As he fetches something else and goes, the age of fact. Old. You want old ink. Incredibly old. So old that it would. Now, here's a question. Old things have power. They have magic to them. Do you need that, or do you just need it to be old?
We need something that would stand up to close inspection.
Oh,
As
every
a
single thing
document.
I sell does. I cannot fetch you ink from the age of Fang, but I can make an ink from the age of now. Sometime decidedly lacking in an age name, which is foolish and makes it difficult to track. Time, I can make an ink older. Anciently old. Send it.
Just as a note, you do have a writ from Rakath as well that says that he's the reason why you're here, which may help give this guy context.
Yeah.
In case you wanted to.
If it
That's
has,
true, yeah.
we have this order request.
I have no idea who that is. There is a picture of him with Rakath in the store on the desk.
I point to it.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Well, I would be billing him then, yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, I believe the smarter, swifter, easier thing would be to utilize magic. He looks at
I didn't
each
catch
of
your,
you for a
your
moment.
name, sir.
My name is Zahor.
Is it?
Bless you. No, it's Zahor. Let me type it. It's spelled quite simply, pronounced not so simply.
And also, no, it isn't his name.
Yeah, every time you go, he's going to give you a different one. At least that'll be what's necessary for the paperwork. I will. Yes, I am a bit of a dabbler in arcana that can shift an object through time. Backwards is easy, even very, very far backwards. Forwards, wait, is backwards easy or is forwards easy? One of them's really easy.
If you sent an object backward in time, wouldn't it get younger?
Don't be ridiculous. Are you the wizard here?
No.
Listen to me. Thank you very much. I'll have you know, I know a lot. I don't even know everything I know, that's how much I know.
Ashal will lean down slightly to Bogdan. I believe you are confusing the act of rewinding time on an object and sending it physically.
Sure,
another
truly, you
time
think I'm the
period.
one confused here?
Ashal just looks at you. He made perfect sense to me.
That's all I need to know. Thank you.
He will take a vial of ink, very nice quality, high quality, and will put it on a table that has arcane scripture written out on it, a magic circle, very small though. The symbols are in a mostly elven. Of course, that doesn't really matter when you're doing arcane magic. It's just whatever you learn it in. But I mean, Bogdan's kind of an arcane mage, but it's still, it's its own thing. We'll run a hand over them. They'll light up a goldish color, kind of like a pale gold, and then we'll start weaving magic from a book as well. That will ring around their hands, and they seem to quite deliberately, very Doctor Strange-esque. They're like winding a thing back, like a rotary telephone in the air, over and over. One wind might be a year. He's going to be here for a bit, and then eventually we'll cast it on the ink, and you see it, the bottle like shiver and shake. But nothing really happens other than that, like visibly. There's like the sound of the spell being cast, but it's not like the ink ceases to exist or like returns to its whatever it was mined from, or like beetle butts or whatever. Like it just doesn't seem to change. Although when he stops, it smokes, and he will take it in some tongs and offer it to you.
Just out of curiosity, I know Ashal isn't exactly the most traditionally trained mage, but does that magic, like...
You can give me an Arcana check.
Yeah, I'm curious as to whether that's something like I would be able to place as a type or...
Yeah, it is a type of magic. When you got the like evocation, illusion, stuff like that. Chronomancy is kind of its own thing. And it is chronomancy. The magic of altering time. It would be impossible to travel through time using chronomancy, but it is possible to alter something's standing in time to make something move further forward, moves backwards, move faster. So a lot of spells can be cast with chronomancy regardless of what they say in a wizard's book, like haste. You cast haste with chronomancy and stuff like that. It's very rare.
I was going to say, is it like...
It's because it's not really taught anywhere, but it's like one of those... It's its own thing, and you would occasionally meet people who dabble in it, mostly more as an exercise than here is a time wizard. Though this might be a time wizard. You're not really sure.
Yeah.
Sean, have you ever seen a spell like that?
I know of its type. Practitioners are rare. It is to do with, how do you put it in Undercommon?
Give it to me in deep speech.
The location, and the term for location, like I imagine in deep speech, because it's Ebimari tongue and magic and such, like there's like a separate word for location in time and location in place.
The deep speech language is very much like the language in Arrival. It's a language where time doesn't matter, right? Like there's no like tenses, which makes it actually perfect to describe chronomancy.
Yeah,
and really.
Ashal uses that word to say location. It affects the location of an object. At least I believe that is what that spell in particular did.
Could someone who wields this magic take an object from the past into the future or present?
I do not believe so, but it is an understudied art. And
Logan's gonna look around for any dwarven antiquities.
Most of it's vague in origin. The stuff in the room. It's either something he's clearly gotten here, but there's some stuff that looks a little dwarven. In the sculpt. So yeah, there's some. Now that you're like looking at it, you are distracted by this guy dropping the vial. It lands on the desk like an inch below it, but it makes a noise. Like, I can assure you that to practice time magic is a festival trick to entertain those who are a bit smarter than children who understand it. And I'm glad that you're entertained. To actually send an object from a time to now would be quite impossible.
Insight check.
Yeah, sure.
I help.
No, insight you can't help. You can both make insight checks.
Then I'll roll it myself.
Yeah.
Yes!
Sure. That's good roll.
Crushed it, but I'm committed.
Mm-hmm.
Get fucked.
Oh, yes!
Wow. One time we're not mad that someone has just one-upped Ian. You both like glare at this guy, and it's a very real warning. It's a warning from one spellcaster to another. Don't dabble in this. It's the only time he seemed lucid this entire time. Like a madman who gets a moment of clarity. And it is to warn another spellcaster. Both of you get that. What Bogdan gets is the obvious thing that... Well, maybe not obvious, but... Their visage, their appearance, objects... He could be a time traveler? The way he said that. And the way he's assuredly that it is impossible. That's the only thing it could mean. Or he's lost things to chronomancy.
Well,
One or
Ashal
the
now
other.
knows what other magics... Another magic
Don't! I shall! Don't you do that magic! What do you have there? The time knife!
Yeah, it's frigging it's just the pointing like it's the pointing like women with the cat.
Yeah, it's that as well.
There was this in the 90s. There was a cereal commercial where like the kids like grabbed the lever, and I think it was like for Captain Crunch or something. And then one of the kids is like, "Don't do that," and the kid's like, "Do this." Just fucking does it, and that's what I thought of when it's like, "Sure, don't do that." What, this? Anyway, I'm old. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what your 20 gets. Is not just this is a warning from a chronomancer who is warning you against something. It's a warning because of loss.
Gotcha.
And you totally understand that one of the reasons why someone would have an operation like this would be to gather money and information quickly in a place they don't really know much about. And they've got things from other places. They've got things from dwarves. They've got pictures from places that don't make sense.
So Bogdan leans up and puts his arms on the counter, and he says, "If you can age and de-age an object, could you age and de-age a person?"
Yes. Though I would recommend not to use it for beauty.
No, I think not. But you seem to be both old and young at the same time.
Do I? Well, I suppose I just have one of those faces. It's the beard, isn't it? You know...
Don't get me wrong, I'm digging the beard. More of your people should have beards. In fact,
where I'm
everyone,
from, everyone
he looks up
has
at the
them.
shawl. Everyone should have a beard.
Tentacles go.
Where I grew up, we all had beards. Especially the babies.
Where did you grow up?
Good question.
Should I ask when?
What? That doesn't make any sense. This is ridiculous. I won't have people speaking no sense in this place. You have your object. I will have my
Yes.
payment soon, I
You
imagine.
will.
If
Just prefer
Athrak
to us
is
the bill.
honorable enough to pay. So,
You have our gratitude. We will no
Sorry about
doubt patronize your shop.
please
again.
don't patronize me. If you ever have need of any other curios, I have a collection that I sell. I sell them for gold. Goodbye.
Yes. Farewell.
Anyway,
We go back.
you go back. Surprise.
As we walk back,
Oh, yeah, please.
Bogdan will say, "You know, Ishral, since I met you, I have repeatedly met more strange people day to day.
Unfortunately, if you are around me and someone who doesn't fit in as much as Ocean, we tend to move in such circles. Wait till you meet that one Groundyak that I knew.
That sounded strangely sexual, but I don't, not getting that vibe, and I just kind of, the way you said that had me wondering."
I shall just.
That's so much better in character than not. I love that. Rakath, they return within like the hour with a rare and ancient ink.
So he just rubs his head and says,
You went to the shop in the slums, didn't you?
We went to the shop, yes.
It is always most entertaining.
When you are a dwarf, when you are given a list, you tend to see the bottom letters first, and simply, it made the most sense at the time.
My mistake. Good to know. Did he tell you what payment was required?
He gave us something, I assume, Game Master, by which I could...
An invoice.
Oh no,
Invoice,
the
if you
invoice
will.
is gonna go through like official channels. It's gonna show up in Rakath's PayPal
yeah,
soon
it's
enough.
gonna show up in my office.
Yeah.
He said to Venmo you several hundred gold.
Yeah.
Rakath will actually like take out some bottles of random crap, seemingly random crap, and he just starts wrapping it up in a parcel, clearly getting it ready for payment. Because Rakath has more material components that are worth. massive
Yeah,
amounts of
exactly.
gold than
You know
actual
that
gold.
The kind of tinkerer,
Yeah.
curio owner is like, everyone will be happier just giving you stuff
Yeah.
than money.
So you're saying that your assets are mostly liquid?
No, the opposite.
My
is
assets are
wrong.
liquid, but that's a health problem.
Most of mine are dusts, actually. It's a bit of a health concern, to be honest with you. Yeah, but no, he pulls out bottles and vials and things like that, and it actually a sack at one point, and he's like, no, not that. And that would blow up. Definitely not that. All right. So, I need to get access now to the map, which means I need to go speak with VODs.
Is that something we're needed for? Or would it probably be better if you did it alone?
I think if you both came with me, you might not leave. So, best if I do that alone.
This house must have a terrible time finding gardeners.
House Noor? Oh no, it has quite proficient gardeners, quite loyal gardeners. And
I suppose it'd have to be.
And chefs. And whoever else they need. No, they have loyal people. House Noor is an ancient house. One with followers that have never strayed. And never will.
Well, I hope someday I get to meet these interesting people.
I'm sure you'll have a chance to meet the Shogun at some point.
Oh, we already did.
Then you've met Voss Noor.
We did? Was I there for that?
No, this
Oh.
was before when we were passing through Cavanir on the way.
He
Cavanir.
is something else, isn't he?
That is one way to describe him, yes.
Well, I suppose I should go speak with him. Please, spend more time in the libraries. And,
Back to it then. Good luck.
thank you.
I'm gonna go speak with Voss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is definitely going to happen off camera. Because this is where we're going to end off today. But thanks for the fun session where I didn't really have to do much. I love that. Oh no. Well, I was spending that time to thank Will, but you know, it got eaten up by the time wizard, and now no more thanks are available.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll take my thanks in the group chat where I just posted a lovely photo of your face.
Oh, is it a good one? That's a pretty good.
It's a
That's
good
like
one.
it's like a proto-pog champ. It's not like all the way
proto-Pog
there.
champ. Yeah, it's on the way to Pog champ.
Neil got
You look-
such a
you look
good
hyped,
screen
yeah.
cap that I'm using it as my Twitter picture still. like they're sometimes really good, especially when I'm like mid DMing. Anyway, I think that's the best time for me to end the session off. Thanks of course to Will for guesting for a bit. We'll definitely see Rakaf again. But Rakaf is also one of those people to be involved from the shadows, and that very much seems to be the case now for the Mind Over Matter diplomats. So next week we'll see if Rakaf could make a forgery. You might have more downtime, and we're gonna end off by talking a little bit about you guys. Not you guys, those guys. I don't want to talk about you. I want to talk about them. Speaking with Jaken, tell me a little bit about what you got going on. Tell me about Sundays. Tell me about your stuff.
Okay. Every Sunday, 6 p.m. Central North American, I have a stream Dire Roll where we play role-playing games. Right now we're playing a system called Alternity. We are 35 sessions in, and they just curb stomped a guy I spent an hour making, because that's how things go.
Yeah.
And yeah. So if you want to see a bunch of anarchist vagabonds gallivanting across the stars in a space fantasy setting where they kind of mess shit up and deal with a lot of interpersonal stuff, come join us. We're wrapping up an adventure, so we'll be leading into the next one on this coming
I'm
Sunday.
excited for what's coming next, for sure.
Yeah, so catch us there. And as always, thanks for Ollie for giving me a chance to be on his show and have a lot of fun.
All right. Some stuff I usually talk about, Will is way more qualified to talk about. So, Will, thanks for being here for a week. We hope to have you on more, but we've discussed this. Rakaf could literally show up at any time, and it would make sense. So that could happen at any time. I don't even know. Will can
I might just
literally
show
get
up
into
one
this
day.
call at any
Yeah.
time.
It's true. I absolutely can. It is my Zoom.
Yeah, we share a
so
Zoom
I
account
can just
because we're
log in.
lovely. So he could literally just join any session. That's a funny thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. But you
What's
want me
up?
to talk about the stuff that you usually talk about?
Yeah, and anything you want, buddy. Anything you want.
I mean,
What's
I
up,
mean, that's
man?
the
You
only
reading
thing
reading
I've
any
got
good
going
books
on.
recently?
I mean, I feel like the
yeah.
last 2.5 hours have largely been us talking about whatever we want.
Yes.
So-
It's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good session. I had fun. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. I'm doing what Ollie's doing right now, which is I am basically making a game. So we're over at Arcanist Entertainment. We are making Schism: The Immolation of Oath-and-Fur. I just happen to have this on hand.
Just happen to have it.
Just happen to have it right
Just
here.
happen to have it.
But
Here's one I
we're
made
gonna be
earlier.
launching, yeah, it just for funsies. But we're gonna be launching this in sometime this spring on Kickstarter, where we're going to be basically pushing this first starter set, the Immolation of Oath-and-Fur. Schism is a game that we are planning on expanding on quite a lot. It's got some really cool miniatures, some really fun mechanics that we've play tested extensively at this point, and they're a lot of fun. A lot of strategy involved. It's a good time. But you can check out all that information over at arcanistentertainment.com if you're interested. You can also see some of the miniatures in their lovely render form going around in a GIF. They look real pretty.
Yeah,
they're
real cool. They're real cool,
It's a fun time.
especially as they're the first, and they're only gonna get better, which is also
Absolutely.
super exciting. We have a lot of plans.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to note, and just because it's for this crowd in particular, these are Schism is based in Jarviskjir, so it is set in this world. It is the greatest battles recorded in history. They are a small
Skirmishes.
as,
Yeah,
we've
it's
said, little skirmish of that larger battle. So we're currently developing Immolation of Oath-and-Fur, as well as a few others that'll be coming out down the line. Journey to Narashiro being one of those. War of the Forge, which is actually a callback to one of the original.
War of the Forge is a callback
Yeah.
to the first stream game. It's true.
So
If you ever have a
that's
reason to
fun.
go back and watch a House Affair,
Mhm.
it
Yep,
is
then,
connected to that feature set.
Blimey, I'm now realizing
Yeah.
what that must be.
Yeah, and also then there's the other one that we have set is the Greed of Ilvander, which is going to be set kind of in the jungle, which will be fun. So
Neil
it's a
keeps
little
asking me to explore the jungle of Narashiro, and now he's gonna have to pay to do
By
it.
Narashiro, you mean Jarviskjir.
By Jarviskjir,
Specifically.
yes.
Yes.
We've done the jungle of Narashiro. It's
Well,
nasty.
Yeah, it's dangerous. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. We've got some mercenary sets coming out that are really cool. The first one you can check out on the website. It's Green Times
It's true.
Mercenaries, led by Alice Green. Very fun looking set. One of them is a Houndmaster.
There is
Trapper
dog.
who has
Yeah.
a dog. Very cute. That's what we're working on. We're currently working on finalizing our last bit for the material components, which as soon as we have those ready, we'll cast a spell and get you going with some Schism. So that's gonna be the plan. That's about all I have going on though for now, because I'm not really doing any shows. I'm just running my own 2 D&D games, which is a fun time. So I'm DMing right now a lot. Which is fun. One of them being an adventure exploration game, and the other one being a very classic Faerun adventure with beholders. Because my party wanted horror elements, so I decided to give them pure psychological horror.
Hell yeah!
A good few sessions. They're level 3 right now, and they are terrified.
With
and it's going
beholders?
really, really well. Yeah, beholderkin, to be fair.
Ah,
Spectators
yeah,
at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Your
Yeah,
babies.
the overall plot is aberrations and horror elements. So,
Love to hear it.
that's all I've got going on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Last and most certainly not least, because Ian is actually the person that convinced me to make Schism into a game rather than just a doodle of a thing. Is Ian?
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Cool.
you play tested Proto Schism
Yes,
with me.
I still have that game on my Roll20.
Yeah, we play tested a
like,
game that became Schism because you were like, this is
Yes.
actually really fun.
Yes. Oh yes, that. Yeah.
Of course,
Cool.
low wisdom
Yeah, I
Ian
actually
strikes
like-
again.
I didn't realize that convinced you to make it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I am Ian. Unlike the other two, I don't really have much going on outside of this. I am just a random Ollie friend who shows up for Ollie D&D and Ollie content, because that's what I do. If you want to hear more of me role-playing, there is also the Monday, or just more Jarviskjir D&D, there is the Monday game that is released as a podcast on Ollie's Patreon for $5 a month. That's a lot more standard D&D fare. We are currently doing a nautical campaign. We're not pirates.
You're not
yet.
Officially, you're not pirates.
Officially not pirates. Yes.
They haven't
Officially
done
not pirates,
any
that's our official
pirating.
title.
They haven't done anything.
But yeah, it's a lot more traditional D&D. Emotions running high, party members like going off on suicide runs, and we have had both a dungeon and a dragon recently. I mean, how more traditional D&D can you get?
That's pretty traditional.
Why wouldn't you like it? It's got Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, that's a really fun game. Very, very chill, very different from this. I will very quickly do my thing. Schism, is great. Is a common. Doomlore, Fridays. It's Warhammer 40k. Chill streams, the rest of the stuff. There's some stuff going on right now, so there might be less streams or more streams, depending on what I need to do. But this campaign is always as great as ever, and I will also let Ian think on that picture in the Time Wizards house for a while. You should also join us on Discord, where there is a lore discussion
make
tab
a
and a
history
spoiler
check
check.
in real life.
No.
Damn. Don't worry, I'd roll a 1. But...
Yeah, I know. You're gonna have to, formulate some plans. I am going to see you all next time. And I suppose everyone else other than Will will see you all next time too. For more Mind Over Matter. Bye.